find that William Ruto, using powers that he assumes he may have, will choose a team favorable to Kenya Kwanza. And so this is a fidelity to multi-party democracy. We are seeing aggression still continuing. A very important member of the and when we believe that Jubilee was his party, now we must remind him that his party is called Kenya Kwanza, or is it UDA? It is UDA. Then the coalition is Kenya Kwanza. We're also seeing an attempt to claw back a matter of coalition building. And we made strong recommendations with regard to the office of the registrar of political parties. That instead of leaving it to one person, be a commission, a team. Please do not allow face the future elections with a measure of confidence. And if we are going to safeguard multi-party democracy. But ladies and gentlemen, remember, this matter was a product of serious pain and agony and death by Kenyan people. On the streets, a year ago, the culmination I think was about April, which is what brought some sense to Kenya Kwanza, and they agreed to discuss. We lost over 72 or thereabouts young Kenyans. We are not even allowed to honor them by having some requiem masses. Remember where we come from, the product. We actually sit here this morning. We can't afford, therefore, to let them. So our friends believe that we should continue to very honorable thing. There comes a time when, if the political class let down the population, what does the population do? Under our constitution, those freedoms are. And so Kenyans have the freedom to still go back to the streets. And we hope this, particularly if this aggression continues against the basics in our constitution, then Kenyans should be allowed to do what is in the best interest of this country. Was gharama ya maisha. If Jeremiah Kioni was mtu wa madhuburia, the world are you trying to demonstrate? Now, we need to tell Kenya Kwanza that revolutions begin sometimes in the streets, sometimes in quiet places. Therefore, if this document is not adopted on the basis as it is, we will then tell them that the bona fides are wanting. There's no good intentions on their part. And we saw, for example, an attempt, and I must thank Stuart Matzayo. But Stuart, forgive me, I called you Zakayo when I came in. If you read closeness, Zakayo na Mazayo. But Stuart, by the way, this is becoming our national anthem, Zakayo Shuka. Because when we call a former governor like Kipia, and one of our see that this is Zakayo Shuka. And he said, on a light note, he said, in a name. This is a national anthem. So Stuart, thank you for the remarks that you made. You tried to stem the hemorrhage at the Senate, an attempt to even declare Kenya as so you did well, and then they went back to what was originally published. You must stick to that. By the way, I must remind honorable members that this is happening at your own request. Mogi Oginga Odinga Foundation offices. And so it's important that everybody will feel encouraged to have useful input to the Parliament before both houses, the National Assembly and the Senate. And so allow me, and I believe this is becoming a national anthem, and Omwami, or my friend Ambetsa, or Paranya, has told you clearly in his mind for planning, that you have to prepare yourselves to vote a big no. We know this finance bill, public participation, and it happened the same way. Finance bill 2020, 90% of Kenyans, and 98%. And now you know, as a coalition, we are ready to go back. You are bold enough. I hope you are, and cause aggression again on public participation. Just imagine bringing heavy taxation on bread. Even the little children who have just gone to school will not enjoy their bread with a bit of blue band. They will be ready, ladies and gentlemen. And you know, spiritually, that you don't think you can withstand another round of demonstrations, then go eat you. And this country needs you. So that is my word of encouragement today. So of course we'll be hearing from the economists their perceptions about finance. May I conclude by making mention of really making some supporting comments on what has happened in the National Assembly with regard. Will not go away. This one will not go away. How many of you believe it won't go away? Because it can. If we realize a scandal just because Linturi has been left off the hook, by the drafters happens in the Senate, that you get those hearings, because there was a possibility of overrunning the recommendations of 11. Because they saw this happening and they walked out. So the product that came out of the 11-member committee is really nobody believes it. Kenyans do not believe it. In a catch 2022, if they think that the country is watching, wait until the expected harvest levels because of the fake fertilizer. And if you think you can just refund somebody their little whatever they spend on buying the fake fertilizer, remember the environmental damage because unless you go and use other things now to reclaim your substance. In terms of expected harvest levels. We have heard from Dr. Net that food prices in Kenya are the same level as Germany, And everybody knows the high cost of. Finally, I want to urge a spirit of solidarity. One of the very key things that we negotiate, clear that if you're elected on an ODM ticket in the supermarket, all right, and you think your people are not watching, if you feel strong and popular enough, the best thing to do is to expect, after you have gone through the motions, because it is all there. I think on Article 103, is it 103 of the... So after that, of course, there must be a by-election, so that we cannot call under that particular heading, fidelity. It makes sense to cheat the population. And Kenyans, because I'm sure all of us will be witness to the fact compromised and by the system, given goodies, sometimes 100,000 shillings, you are told, and then you sell your soul for a song. Kenyans are watching, and they are so unpopular, and we know them. We know them, and I think our colleagues, and I'm sure that today, given a chance, they'll come back running. So let's be ready. Let's be ready. So I want to stop there, and really, I don't know who is the next. I also want to actually recognize Advocate Njiru Ndengwa. He doesn't look very tall, but the man is very tall in the head. He's done very well, done a lot of pro bono matters, including appearing with me in defense of aggression against former governor. So we will be ready. We will fight every... I want to encourage you. If you want to be on the right side, even imagine you can from what your colleagues are trying to do. You will stand strong and tall. I think that it's an economic team. Ceremony, the microphone to take us through, but please remember, and those who keep on coming, please remember this is your session, because you wanted to be brought on board, so that everybody will say yes, we were fully briefed on the NADCO report. May God bless you. Thank you, and bless our country.
Let us give our principal another hands of welcome. At this juncture, allow me to invite Mr. Okango to take us through the rest of the...
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. My name is Frederick Okango from the Azimio Secretariat, and that is going to help us condense this program. We anticipate that we will be leaving here before lunch, because we programs. There's a team going to Madare, and then there's also other members who are going back, particularly the Senate. Now, slightly because of the finance bill that we know, if the statement from the coalition was that it was coming with a wave of taxes, and is the chair of Azimio Economic Council, just to take us and the views of the Azimio Economic Council on this finance bill. I know the bill has gone through Parliament, and it has been published. However, it is important that the members also understand and note some of the issues that. And after that, then have compressed all those bills. They'll do as a presentation, and assess in terms of dynamics, and then we shall have finished. So, karibu Nderi Tumuridhi, Governor.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka, colleague the podium, because I need to work the PowerPoint. I'll try and finish in 10 minutes so that we can get into the NADCO report. That is if SG of Jubilee takes his seat. Please clap for Honorable Kioni. The Honorable Musyoka spoke about solidarity in the coalition. We hope you also us from Mountain have a big thing on Friday, and yeah, we'll have 2 minutes to explain, but the Mountain will and where we are going there. And so we hope that all of you in the coalition stand with us in encouragement, in words, in deed, in haya. Hiyo ingine leader ongeza hapo. And I was quite happy to hear Honorable Kalonzo speak to that look, if the political class being the citizen, oh, you can well understand right, yeah, to finance bill. Honorable members, I really hope, you know, there was one of your colleagues who was caught off guard. The Finance Act of last year brought food prices. It is the most ludicrous kind of comment you can make. All taxes bring the costs of everything up. It's a very simple thing. So, now, honorable members, of course it starts with the budget policy statement. We discussed, honorable members, earlier in the year. It came to you. You may not see the numbers from the back. The point is, the budget policy statement that came through the House, was seeking to increase taxes by 324 billion. 341 billion coming from the fees for A in A. So the real question go through the finance bill is which of the measures will be producing what amount. It's part of the structural problem that we hope you could, in the way the finance bill is presented to you. It is presented, of course, in the normal way, 5 segments, one for income tax, for VAT, miscellaneous, and so on, as well as tax administration. The difficulty with it, it doesn't tell you, as honorable members, what really is the expectation from that particular, in a sense, approving a blanket idea, and what should happen in our view. And the country director of CAS said we are the government in waiting. Well, when we are no longer waiting, then the finance bill will certainly be presented in a different manner. But honorable members, as you go through it, I ask you how much tax is coming from each of those measures, what's the impact of that measure on the through the slides as they are laid out, but they will be available to honorable members. And I should also add, this is a very preliminary analysis, and the Economic Council will be deepening the analysis and sending the report to you. Let me start with income tax. A number of difficult propositions brought up for you to approve. One, trade associations as though they are companies, or KEPSA, to see trade associations as companies and therefore make them subject to income tax. You are also 54 of the housing. The impact of that deletion draws the money, then you will also be asked to approve a new tax for 100,000 per motor vehicle. The insurance companies when they insure your car. Now the difficulty with this, of course, two difficulties. One, on third used, but most importantly, of course, that tax is going to percolate through. Transport costs are going to go up in general. You will also find you are being asked to change certain definitions. Section 2 of the bill is asking you to change definitions in Section 2 of the Income Tax Act to bring, as I said, trade associations to pay taxes, family trusts to pay taxes, and so on. No. I want to move on to VAT. Again is moving bread and flour and other food items basically to, you move them from zero rated to exempt, and the impact is that the inputs that go into making the flour, then the producers cannot claim back. But obviously they push it to the citizen. Unga might go up by about 10 to 15 bob, but I want to say here it's a preliminary estimate. We should be bringing the cost our colleagues in government are doing. In excise duties, you're being asked to change quite a number of things. Allow me to increase the excise duty on financial services. And you remember last year, honorable members, this was moved from now it is moving from 15% to 20%. That is the proposal. So when people, all the financial services that are making financial inclusion better, proposal is now for you or for the country to tax them at 20%, which we believe you should say a really big no. The overall impact of what you're being asked to do is to increase the burden of tax, an average of 27,000 per person. When you think on it, the working population, so if you say the working age, and you say these 324 billion in new taxes or increased taxes and the 41 billion in additional fees, how much is that per person? Frankly, it is equivalent to 27,000 shillings for every working person. Now, obviously, children don't pay taxes, but if you are spreading it to everybody, including children, then it is nearly 6,000 for every person, man, woman, child. Surely it is not practical to do. we should say no. And I agree with Honorable Kalonzo that we must consider, going to say no. I thank you very much. Is it in, did I keep time? Thank you.
Thank you. That was short, and thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now, allow me to recognize the presence of leader is in the house. We want to move very fast because we are now moving into the NADCO bills, but I want to introduce or invite at Bomas from Azimio side, who will now again invite Dr. Tiende Amolo. One of the bills that has been processed is the IBC Amendment Bill 2023. And Dr. Tiende Amolo will just take us through some of the areas of concern that they had and some of the amendments that have been there. Then Zain and Professor Adams will complete the process, so they'll take over from there. Zain and Prof. I think Prof, you come first.
Azimio and all Waheshimiwa, all protocols observed. Starting where one of the issues Kalonzo Musyoka said was an irreducible minimum was the cost of living. And we all know how that happened in the Bomas talks. When they were stonewalling, they were saying to be able to reduce the taxes. In May, and instead of reducing the taxes are going up. And that's why what Governor as I invite Dr. Tiende, let me that NADCO was a successor to the bipartisan talks, of which Azimio was led by Dr. Tiende, and I can see some members, Honorable Sifuna, the SG of ODM. I can see the deputy leader, Senator Wambua is here. I saw Honorable Amina Munyazi, who was both a member of the bipartisan and NADCO. From what the bipartisan team had done. In fact, it became the template which NADCO members, led by Honorable I, took from. And Kwanza had their issues. And Azimio, in fact, Azimio compelled Kenya Kwanza. Initially, they simply wanted the reconstitution of the IBC panel as the only issue. But if you find it be taken through, it covers a wide area on electoral justice, about the fidelity to multipartyism. Among the bills, the one on politics, to hear anything on the audit of the elections. In fact, they have taken it to bills we are talking about has that. And last, Honorable Mazayo has indicated they didn't even want to implement what was finally agreed on. In fact, if you look at those bastardized bills that were brought to the Senate, they are just bringing back what your leadership in NADCO had removed. They were just bringing them back, which means that all along, they just wanted their own thing. With those few remarks, may I invite Dr. Tiende go through one of the bills canvassed upon. Dr. Tiende.
Thank you, Prof. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocols observed. I'll be very brief. I am invited in my capacity as one of the members of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee as a joint committee with the Senate Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, Senator Catherine Muma, few other members. Just to say first that I'm going to talk about very briefly the IBC amendment gone through the National Assembly. It's before the Senate. And as we talk about it, there are three things that are standing out. One is what the speakers have already spoken about, especially in terms of their that is, and Senator Wambua knows, and Senator Edwin Sifuna, it's the path to take. In the interest of moving forward, it was chosen to take the path through Parliament. And it comes with the vagaries of Parliament. And those are the vagaries of Parliament. We have started seeing them. That will not be the last. They will keep coming. So we must be alive. As a consequence, we then must suffer the tragedy of our stolen majority in Parliament. And that stolen majority has reduced us to a situation where our leaders are called leaders of minority when they should actually be leaders of majority. And with that, it then subjects us, even in the joint of Kenya and the deputy chairs, unlike in the NADCO talks, where there was what we'd call. And the third result of that, in that committee, we have including retention of a comma, including the NADCO team is reflected in what we are discussing, instead of focusing on how to pass it. We are reduced, thirdly, to a situation where we are subjected to very interesting. I think in the National Assembly and even in the Senate, we were given 45 days. The then interprets those 45 days. The consequence is immense. Because in a week, Parliament sits on 3 days. Instead of 7, in a month you only have 12 days. And if you exclude recess, you move basically from 45 days to almost 5 months. And that's where we are headed. The tragedy therefore is that, in my considered opinion, there is liturgy from our counterparts on the other side. There is minimal interest in moving the NADCO report and the bills forward. And those, the IBC amendment bill